Hello, welcome to Community Matters. Sorry, I lost track of time a bit there, getting ready for our program today. Welcome, my name is Becky Steinbrunner. I'm honored to be your host here for the next 2 hours as we explore different important issues in our community. We will have a guest calling in here momentarily, Mr. John Hassar, from a company called Invinity. It is one of the many, as it turns out, non-lithium battery storage technology companies that is setting up in this country. And Mr. Hassar recently attended a Santa Cruz County Commission on the Environment workshop, the second of 3 such workshops that are being held by the Santa Cruz County Commission on the Environment to study, if you will, the issue of battery energy storage systems known as BESS, B-E-S-S. And that's where I met Mr. Hassar. He spoke very eloquently. He had come from San Francisco to talk with our community and with our commissioners and to ask questions of the 2 presenters at that commission meeting. That was on July 25th, I believe, was the date on that one. We have another one of those workshops coming up this next week on August 20th, Wednesday, August 20th, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. And that will be a technical workshop on battery energy storage systems. So I urge you to attend that. It will be in person in the Santa Cruz County Government Center at 701 Ocean Street in the Board of Supervisors chambers on the 5th floor. And it will also be available for remote participation. You can find this information by doing a search for the Commission on the Environment. That's the Santa Cruz County Commission. And that is what we have here. We also, I see, have another caller coming in, Mr. Michael Hogan, who I'm delighted, really delighted to have on. I didn't know he was going to be able to call, so I'm going to go ahead and take his call. And we may stop a bit and then invite Mr. Hassar to join us. But let's go first with Mr. Dr. Michael Hogan. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, hear you fine.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Hogan, for calling in. I was just explaining to the listeners that we have another guest that may be calling in a little bit. And so I'm honored that you have time to call in. And we may need to take a break for a moment. Mr. John Hassar from a company, Invinity, has only a few moments and has agreed to call in at about 2:15. Is that all right with you? And then we can continue
Fine.
on. Excellent.
Fine.
Thank you very much. Well, Dr. Michael Hogan, I would like you to introduce yourself because it is a real honor to have you here talk with us a little bit about what you're doing and what you're planning.
Thank you, Becky. I'm a physicist. I study atmospheric physics and U.S. energy policy and have a dialogue with the present administration, but at a scientific level. I'm not proposing partisan solutions to things, but scientific and economic things that make sense, that protect our environment, our public health, and lead to the best economic outcomes for people on the Central Coast. I am also the chairman of the California Arts and Sciences Institute, and we are actually holding a major live public event on the subject of the Moss Landing plant on October 8th. You can find more information in a couple of days on our website. It's not yet up, but the website is casicalifornia.org. That's CASI, California.org. And the nature of the event is going to be to cover a variety of the impacts of having a lithium-ion battery plant at Moss Landing or any other location. And we are going to explore the history of some of the health impacts from the previous explosions and fires. We're also going to talk about the metals and other chemicals that have become embedded in the agricultural soils for miles around. But we're also going to talk about some of the fundamentals about how the plant integrates with the electric grid, what the issues are of compatibility and therefore reliability, and the underlying value of having a lithium-ion battery plant.
Excellent. Where will this event be held?
It will be held at Wave Street Studios in the city of Monterey, and that's on October 8th at 4:30 in the afternoon.
Excellent. And you said that the information will soon be posted on the CASI website. That is excellent. Do you have a newsletter or anything that people can sign up to get frequent updates?
Yes, they could send an email to the following email address and get on the distribution, and that'll ensure that they get a direct email with the detailed particulars. So they can send an email to the following address: cmhphysicist@gmail.com. That's my email address. Initials cmhphysicist@gmail.com. Anybody who sends me an email there will get all of the detailed information on the event.
This is marvelous. Thank you. Will you have guest speakers there that will be providing information about what you've learned, health impacts, the metals, and how these BESS would integrate in the grid?
We shall. We'll have a panel, and one of the panelists is David Hurwitz, who's a leading economist and researcher. I will also be on the panel. I'll either be on the panel or moderating the panel. And we're presently interviewing several other people to finalize the other panelists, but it's our intention to have someone who would be expert on the soil chemistry, the public health, the agricultural matters, and the underlying physics of how the plant works and what its inherent risks and opportunities are. So it's really going to be a multifaceted informational divulgence. It's not really aimed at a point of view. It's aimed at getting good public information out in depth to the public.
This is marvelous, and it is certainly what we need, isn't it? I want to thank you. Will the event be televised or recorded?
That's our intention. We do film most of our events. Coincidentally, we are a charity. We are a 501c3 charity. So anybody who joins as a member has a tax-deductible donation. And our charitable purpose is to inspire young people. And one of our missions, we're actually running a film contest for young people presently. And so we actually anticipate having one of our young students who's quite professional in filming do the recording and editing. So we do anticipate having this archived and available on the internet after the event. But we would encourage people to come to the event where you can both hear in real time and ask questions of the panelists.
That is marvelous. Thank you. And tell us again the location.
It's Wave Street Studios in Monterey. It's right at I call it the edge of Cannery Row, and it's located on Wave Street.
Excellent. Thank you very much. What got you interested in this topic, Dr. Hogan?
Well, my career has been involved in atmospheric physics and in energy policy. So this is, in my opinion, this is probably the most important energy policy matter in the future of the Central Coast, and we need to pay great attention to it. And it integrates with my physics work, my calculations, and my passion to make sure that we are making decisions in the Central Coast that are the best for our health, our agriculture, and our economic well-being.
Excellent. Thank you. I have Mr. Jonathan Hassar on the coming in on a call. Would you like to stay and maybe interact with him, or what is your pleasure?
I'll stay and mainly be a listener, but I'll be glad to stay on the line.
Very good. Thank you again, Dr. Hogan, for your good work and for calling in today. We look forward to that October 8th, 4:30 p.m. event in Monterey. Let's go now to Jonathan Hassar. Hello, Mr. Hassar. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Hi, Becky. Great to be with you.
Hello. Thank you so much for calling in. We also have on the line here with us Dr. Michael Hogan, who has just been talking about an event that he is organizing with California Arts and Science Institute for October to put together a panel talking about the impacts of lithium battery energy storage systems. So he's here listening, and I want to thank you very much for your good work. I told our listeners when I first began the program that I met you at last month's Santa Cruz County Commission on the Environment workshop. That was the second of three. The third is coming up this Wednesday, August 20th. At 5 p.m. in Santa Cruz at the county government building. And I met you at that last one and was so impressed. You had come from San Francisco to testify, to help educate our community, and to talk with those panelists. So thank you for doing that, and thank you for joining us here today. Would you please introduce yourself and talk with us a little bit about what you and Invinity have to offer?
Yes, of course. No, thank you very much for your kind words, Becky. My name is John Hassar. I work as Director of Business Development at Invinity. It's a battery manufacturer. It's a flow battery manufacturing company. I'm based in Bay Area, and I saw a publication about the first workshop that took place in Santa Cruz, and saw that the community was active there. So I really wanted to come down for the second workshop and engage with the public who is concerned with the matters of safety, and it was very educational for me as well.
It was an interesting workshop for sure. I felt like your testimony brought some balance to the industry side of things in presenting that there are viable non-lithium battery energy storage technologies. So talk with us a little bit about the flow battery idea and why it is safe. They keep saying that the iron phosphate lithium batteries are safer, but they're still prone to explosion, fire, and when they do catch fire, they release greater amounts of toxins. So talk with us a little bit and help us learn about the alternatives, because we're not hearing much about that in Santa Cruz County right now.
Exactly. So flow battery has incorporated inherently safety features. Like, for example, it is non-flammable. It actually cannot catch fire because it's actually water-based in where the energy is stored. So, for example, the energy is stored in the liquid form electrolyte instead of the cells in lithium batteries. So that has like water, and sulfuric acid and vanadium element, and So it's inherently non-flammable, and it actually would even put off a fire. So that's actually the kind of the design it has had, and it's not actually a very new technology. It's like 40 years old. It just has been on a commercialization journey. So we have big efforts in the past 10, 15 years on reducing cost so that actually we can also compete with lithium getting cheaper and cheaper. I think so that's the sort of the piece. There are multiple reasons as well, like why lithium catches fire. Like, for example, as the density is increasing, there is more actually energy being stored in small amount of space that inherently creates issues like explosions. And second one is the piece around a lot of these type of lithium batteries actually do not have an accurate state of charge status. So state of charge means, for example, if the operator of a battery expects the battery to be 80% charged, but then they realize it isn't when it is being used. So that kind of inaccuracy on the state of charge of the battery is also leading to like overheating, for example. Operators get these readings about the status of the charge, and they might charge or discharge, and actually battery behaves differently. So in our, for example, technology, we do have more accurate state of charge readings. So there are multiple benefits like this that, yeah, it's important to, I think, increase awareness and seek alternatives.
Indeed. And the trouble that my guest last week, Mr. Ed Mitchell, who's the lead investigator for the Never Again Moss Landing Group, pointed out that the more times the lithium batteries are overcharged or expended too much, it degrades the quality of the battery, and that leads to the problems of the thermal runaway. So there's not a lot of reporting going on about when that happens within the industry, but the flow battery design would not have that problem. How commercial? I'm sorry. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, because that comes out of like the way how much the battery is being used, and the lithium batteries, as they get used, they form dendrites, and they also degrade. So they do, in a sense, wear out. And our, for example, battery has a up to 30-year life, when a lithium battery would live at most like 10 to 15 years. So that's also, in a sense, why that term is called state of health. So a lot of, for example, operators will not use a battery that is approximately 60 to 70% state of health in the lithium world. So in a sense, it actually is not a great business proposal for the operators, for the developers, the lithium. It's sort of kind of what we ended up with. I guess the context here is that lithium was really designed for mobile applications, like our personal devices, are like electric vehicles. But I guess the demand, there's a lot more lithium that have happened, and there's a lot of also dumping going on to take over the market. So in a sense, also us having maybe not as much EVs is leading to them filling the stationary energy storage market, like the BESS. So actually, it is really not designed for stationary energy storage. It's really designed for mobile. So just like flow batteries are not designed for mobile applications, but it is designed for stationary applications. So in a sense, we are using a technology for not the right purpose, and there are other ones that are more suitable.
Yes, and
very well stated.
Yes, thank you. I have one question, then I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Hogan if you have any questions for Mr. Hussar. Does Invinity have any projects that are currently using the technology commercially? That's always the argument that we're hearing is, oh, it's just not commercial ready. And I heard you speak to that a bit at the commission meeting. But for our audience, please talk with us about that.
Yes, so we have like 10 installations in California, mostly like Southern California.
Oh.
And they are actually backed by highly reputable organizations like California Energy Commission gave grants to support our projects. Department of Energy, U.S. Department of Energy have supported us to deploy our technology. So like some of the live applications are in a fire station in Soboba in Southern California. The Viejas Casino and Resort in Alpine, just outside San Diego, have our solution being commissioned right now. The LADWP have our installation. Myanmar Air Base have our installation. So we have been around and we have done real-world demonstrations to show that the battery works and reduce its cost further. So our aim right now is, as a company, is to reach to higher volumes so that we can even establish manufacturing in California to create durable jobs here and actually deploy this. And there is like actually a lot of policy support for this type of non-lithium. California Energy Commission has been behind this, and the Public Utilities Commission have a procurement dedicated to non-lithium storage because they see that the customer adoption is low. Technology is there, but customer adoption is low, and that leads to kind of us not being able to reduce cost, because the more we can achieve higher volumes, actually our unit costs are going to drop. So then actually we are going to really win against lithium on the cost side as well. So that's sort of a lot of this happening, and outside California as well. There is a lot of positive developments.
That is excellent. Thank you. Dr. Hogan, do you have any questions for Mr. Jonathan Hassar from Vanadium?
Yes. First of all, Dr. Hassar, very, very much appreciated your articulate presentation. The audience is going to think we've met before and we're aligned, but we've never met before. But we have a synergism because we both are scientists and engineers, and we're basically coming to the same conclusions, that the lithium-ion battery is a very speculative investment in our future. And I would welcome an experiment at Moss Landing where we use flow. I'm aware of the basic technology. I agree with everything you've said about the relative safety. And I think that it would be absurd for the Central Coast to be pursuing lithium-ion installation when we have a technology like flow. I think what could be debated is the magnitude of the installation. I would favor, this is my preference, is a go slow attitude, not try to build a huge plant of any kind, but build a plant that's a reasonable test case and use flow. In no case should we be proceeding with lithium-ion batteries when we have such a good technology as flow. And what do you think?
Very much welcome. Yeah, I would really welcome that, Dr. Hogan. It would be great, Becky, if you could connect us after this, and we would love to be part of this. I think we have reached out to Vistra as well because we do aware that they do have PPAs that they need to fulfill the requirements of those power purchase agreements, and we even think that we could be the replacement solution for what took place in Moss Landing. So any kind of inroads we can make to convince the operators to consider alternatives is very much welcome. And we are competing for mainly sort of anything beyond 4 hours as a duration. So we can go up to 24 hours, fairly flexible. And for example, some of our recent proposals have been even designed for 400 megawatt hour systems. So we can do like anything like 10 megawatt hour system, but we can also scale that to larger installations. And the solution works in a modular way. So as in a sense, building blocks complement each other and get to the greater good. So that's actually one of the kind of light bulb moment for me at the workshop 2 weeks ago in Santa Cruz, that containerization was described as a fire mitigation solution by the experts there. And for us, containerization is mainly having a modular product that we can build in the factory and test it, and not necessarily a fire mitigation solution for us. So we see it as more efficiency, so that there is very little to do in the field. That's a plug and play. So yeah, I think there are much more robust use cases here. And I think the reaction from the industry is like some of the lack of awareness is also like astonishing. Like some of the, for example, articles came out describing the workshop. I saw, for example, the Watsonville developer talking about, I think, some of my remarks at the workshop, saying that flow batteries are slow. So, for example, we do have an independent verification that our batteries can respond in less than 15 milliseconds.
Wow.
So I don't know who has, I don't know. I think let's do the math. I guess I would like to know. I would like to know if the developer needs something that is faster than 15 milliseconds. So yeah, I think there is a lot of misinformation, I think, on the kind of on the angle on people pushing one angle despite the feedback from the community. And I think it's important to listen and revise our opinions, right, as we learn more.
Indeed. Thank you. This coming Wednesday, August 20th, there will be the third workshop. The speakers will be, the first will be a presentation from Mr. Sawari. He is a policy analyst for Senator John Laird. And then there will be a presentation from Matthew Pais, a retired technical advisory in the Battery Materials and Systems Group for Pacific Northwest National Laboratories. And then there will be a discussion. Do either or both of you plan to participate in the third Commission on the Environment workshop this Wednesday? I'll ask you first, Jonathan.
On it, but...
That was Dr. Hogan. Jonathan, are you able to participate? You drove all the way from San Francisco last time. There is remote participation, but are you?
Yeah, so I will try to do it. It's fitted at 5:00, right? So
yes.
Otherwise, I need to be in the office on Wednesday, so I won't be in person, but I'll do my best to dial into the Zoom call this time.
Excellent. Thank you so much. The meeting will be 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. in 701 Ocean Street, the same building, the Santa Cruz County Government Center on the 5th floor. You can find information about how to access remotely by looking up the Santa Cruz County Commission on the Environment. Mr. Hassar, I know you have a lot to do. You have carved out time to talk with us this afternoon. Do you have anything else you would like to say to our listeners and to Dr. Hogan? I will connect the two of you.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, that would be great. I think I think the way I see the kind of our near-term future is how this Assembly Bill 303 will evolve at the State Assembly.
Yes.
That's sort of how I see this evolving as we get more educated. I see that exclusion zones are perhaps going to be more part of the focus. I think it's not sustainable, this sort of let it burn mentality. As the community is asking, so where does it go? All the stuff that burn, rightly so. So I think there will be inevitably, right? Like people live so close distance residential areas, our schools. Imagine, right? Like our children will not be able to attend school in case of certain fires and explosions for prolonged periods. Like, why do this, right? Like, why put all this at stake when other technologies are available and they are becoming also cost competitive with lithium? So, I hope that sort of the future will be around that we will not be neutral to technologies on the way their safety features are assessed, and we can actually put the right application, match the use of with the right technology solution, not sort of make it up as we go along.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for this invitation.
Thank you. How do we learn more information about you and Invinity?
So my name is John Hassar. My email is jhassar@invinity.com. And our website is invinity.com, invinity.com. So very much welcome any kind of follow-up. And if the listeners contact you, Becky, you have my contact details. Please feel free to share as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Dr. Hogan, do you have any final words or questions for Mr. Hassar before he has to get back to work?
Well, Becky, you've given us a marvelous opportunistic encounter with Mr. Hassar and me. We both have technical backgrounds and are able to communicate very well, and I think we'll have a lot to talk about in the future. Mr. Hassar may actually may want to be part of our event on October 8th as well. I'll definitely be talking with him about that. So thank you, Becky.
Yes, you're very welcome. And just one final word. I did attend the California State Fire Marshal Battery Energy Fire Safety Symposium in Sacramento last month. And there I met a fellow that was actually from Santa Cruz County. He is the fire chief for UCSC, University of California, here in Santa Cruz. And he has expressed concern that the University of California is adopting a policy to put microgrid battery energy storage systems on their campuses, and he worries very much about UCSC campus because they are in the wildland-urban interface zone, in a very high fire risk zone. And I am thinking that this flow technology could be the answer for solving the energy storage that the university regions want while addressing public safety and fire issues. So I will also connect you with Mr. Nick Otis is his name. He's at UCSC. So
perfect. Thank you so much, Becky.
Thank you.
Looking forward to connecting with you.
Thank you
Have
very
a great afternoon.
much.
Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. All right. So that was Mr. Jonathan Hassar from a company called Invinity that is a leader in flow battery technology. Doesn't burn. Isn't that a good thing? Dr. Hogan, are you still there?
Still here.
All right. Would you like to talk with us anything more about your thoughts on what we've just heard? Issues that you would like to bring to our audience this afternoon? And I really want to thank you for calling in today.
Well, I'd just like to summarize. Mr. Hassar really presented eloquently that there are alternatives to lithium ion. And I think that's an extremely important point. And then I think the other things, while we talked a lot about technology and battery technology when Mr. Hassar was on, what I would like to stress to the public is that we need to be aware to the broad aspects of this, not just focus in on battery storage and then quickly make a decision about the best kind of battery storage. We need to look comprehensively at what a battery storage facility is doing for our community, plus and minus, both the public health and safety impacts, as well as the agricultural impacts, and also the economics. And this is something that's really not getting sufficient attention. We're tending to jump immediately to, let's talk about battery storage, and then let's talk about the safest way to do it. And I want to emphasize the importance of the public becoming aware of all of the aspects of public health, agricultural viability, and the economics and broader aspects of how the battery storage integrates into the grid. What does that really imply for our grid when we build up a heavy reliance upon intermittent energy and battery storage? We noticed, for those of us who are paying attention in Germany, Portugal, and Spain in the last year, that they had a total national grid collapse because they made some poor decisions about building the grid in a stable way and becoming over-reliant on certain aspects. So it's very important that we balance the technologies with the stability of the grid.
Well said. Thank you. And as you say, nobody's addressing that piece of the big picture here, are they?
Not very much.
Yeah.
It's really vital that we keep our eye on keeping our total grid in a stable configuration. And that's not simple. That's not done automatically. The grid in California right now, for those of us who look at it closely, is in a very fragile condition.
It is, for many reasons.
Thank you.
And what do you see as something that people need to learn more about so that they have a better understanding of this picture that's being presented, as you say, with a quick fix with building all these batteries? What do people need to? Where can we go to learn?
Well, I think this is a great question, and what I think people need to do, the entire public, need to become very well informed on the alternative pluses and minuses of all of our major forms of power generation. Feeding into our grid, we have hydroelectric, geothermal, natural gas, and nuclear, besides wind and solar. And the public needs to become very aware of how each of these work, what the environmental impacts are. The environmental impacts of each of these energy forms is very different, extremely different. Some of these we're more concerned about air emissions. In other things, like offshore wind, we should rightfully be concerned about killing whales.
Yes.
And depleting fisheries. You see, Europe is way ahead of us in the offshore wind industry, for example. We haven't had none of it in the West Coast, a little bit in the East Coast. And so what we've seen in Europe is a massive depletion in the number of whales and in the fishery catch. Some of the fisheries are down 95% due to offshore wind. So I'm just giving you one little aspect of one of our power generation sources. But the public needs to become aware of all of the environmental impacts of each power source. And only then can the public make rational decisions on how to optimize the grid.
And where I've begun doing a bit of research like that. The California Energy Commission held some symposiums last fall in September, October, November, and there was one session in, I think it was September, where there was a presenter, Dr. Corapella from Sandia National Labs, gave two sessions on non-lithium battery storage. But there were other presentations just in energy and the grid. I found those presentations very helpful. What other areas, what other sources would you recommend? Because it's hard to find information that is not being spoon-fed by the industry. It's sort of a captured industry.
Well, this is very true. We have too many people participating and disseminating information who have an economic stake in one or another energy source. And what we need is a discussion among the scientific community and the public where there are no such stakeholders, where nobody has an economic interest. For example, I maintain my own practice by having zero investment in any energy source. I am economically neutral, and I think that's extremely important because most of the voices you hear have a stake in one form or another. And so I would just encourage the public to participate in as many different information sources and weigh the objectivity. Does this presenter have an economic vested interest in anything, whether it's nuclear or solar or wind or battery? Let's at least understand what connections the scientists and presenters have when they're disseminating this information.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. For those of you who have just tuned in, welcome to Community Matters. I'm honored to be your host, Becky Steinbrunner, and I'm here also honored to have with me Dr. Michael Hogan, who is the director with California Art and Science Institute. Give us a little more information, if you will, please, Dr. Hogan, about this excellent event that you are organizing with a team of others coming up in our area that will help us get the information that we've just been discussing.
On October 8th at Wave Street Studios in Monterey, our California Arts and Sciences Institute will host a public event that will disseminate information on this subject, focusing on Moss Landing, its history and future, and all of the environmental and economic impacts. And this event will be on our website very shortly. That's CASICalifornia.org, where you can get a more complete explication of what we'll be doing with our energy panel. But again, the panel will assemble will not provide one point of view. The panel will provide a variety of points of view on public health, economics, and agricultural viability, and talk about the pluses and minuses of different ways of proceeding at Moss Landing.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. This is really going to be a pivotal event for many of us to be able to hear the information impartially presented and to be able to ask questions and get answers. Not often allowed in the public forums at government meetings. So there's a piece of information maybe you are aware of regarding the metal heavy metal contamination following the Vistra fire.
Yes.
I was speaking with someone from the cannabis industry in an interview, and he said that the cannabis plants preferentially take up those heavy metals. And I wonder if you are considering anybody that might be able to speak to that. The cannabis industry is heavily regulated, and they must test their product for heavy metal content before it can be sold. So this interviewer, Mr. Christopher Cars, who I was interviewing, we were speculating, what are we going to see in the local cannabis industry in the area where the Moss Landing fire plume went? Are we going to see higher levels of cannabis, heavy metals in cannabis products? Are there going to be farmers that will lose their whole product? And wouldn't it be something if we could use cannabis plants as the canary in the coal mine, so to speak, to find out where the most contamination in the agricultural soils are? I don't know if that's something you've considered.
Well, that's something we're looking at very carefully. We're not just looking at cannabis, we're looking at a whole host of crops.
Uh-huh.
So we're very concerned about this issue because extremely little information has been disseminated to the public about the heavy metals in the soils.
Yeah.
All we know for sure is that there are heavy metals in the soils. We don't know the complete spatial extent, how many miles it extends, but we know that there are very deleterious levels in some of the upper soils. And we also know by the nature of these heavy metals that they will be resident for a century or more. So that we're not talking about something that has a quick remediation. We're talking about a very serious and important agricultural issue.
Mm-hmm. Are you aware of any bacteria or fungi that might be able to help with hastening remediation? I heard a talk about that at the one of the Never Again Moss Landing group meetings with a panel of scientists.
Well, I'm aware of much of the literature on this, but I would just summarize by saying I'm not overly enthusiastic about this possible mitigation technique.
Yeah, yeah. And as you say, this is not a quick fix for anything by any means.
I think that's the best summary of the day, Becky.
Are you thinking about? I also am very, very concerned about the immediate and long-term impacts on our agricultural soils, and how it's really not being discussed publicly. I did, and I'm going to refer again to this excellent symposium that I went to in Sacramento. One of the speakers, toward the end of the day, was the only one that did. His name is Dr. Wang, and he works at the Desert Research Institute. I will be happy to connect you with him because he showed a slide I have never seen before of the spikes in pollutants from the Salinas High School. There's a stationary air quality monitoring station there, and he had a slide showing that. That's the first time that I've seen anything shown publicly about possible contamination down in the Salinas Valley, the salad bowl of our country. So I would be happy to connect you with him if you have not heard of his work.
I've just heard of it, but I'd be very glad to be connected to him. Thank you, Becky.
Yes, you're very welcome. And I do believe that Mr. Ed Mitchell and some of the others from the Never Again Moss Landing group have interviewed him. The thing that Dr. Wang said that really made me go up to him afterwards and talk with him is that he was, in his public presentation, he was saying that the EPA claimed they could not calibrate the equipment at the time of the Moss Landing fire to really get a good reading of the toxins. And so I went up to talk with him about that because I had some information that I had gathered from listening to someone else you probably know of already, Dr. Ivan Ielo from the Moss Landing Marine Lab. Marvelous, marvelous researcher. And so I wanted to talk with Dr. Wang about that. And in that private conversation, he said, I don't understand how the EPA can make that claim. I built the equipment that they were using. I know it can be calibrated.
Well,
So,
I'm with Dr. Wang on that.
Yeah.
We've heard a lot of subterfuge from
Yes.
media and government, which push off getting real information to the public, and
yes.
I think the public should start insisting upon getting complete information: air, water, and soil.
Yes, indeed. And again, I'm going to give great kudos to the Never Again Moss Landing group. Mr. Ed Mitchell this morning sent out a pollution condition letter to the EPA now that the Vistra plant cleanup is supposed to be starting, and yet there's no information about what is at, as he's calling it, ground zero, and what are the risks to those who live near there, who are on the highways traveling by or following the trucks that are going to be taking these contaminated materials out of our state. So we have a lot of questions to be asking the EPA and those agencies, the Monterey Bay Air Quality Control Board, whose job is to protect us and the environment and our agricultural soils.
Yes.
We have about 4 minutes. I really want to thank you so much for calling in today. So I would like to just give you another opportunity to provide any other information that you would like our listeners to have. And again, thank you.
Well, I think we've covered all the issues. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I want other people to be able to call in. But I would just say go to our website, cassicalifornia.org, and look on the website when the event comes on for registration for October 8th, and come on out. We have a big venue, and we're going to pack the place because I know this is a sufficiently important topic, and I can guarantee you we'll have loads of information, and it'll be impartial information. We're not presenting a point of view from any one aspect of industry. We're not trying to represent the Moss Landing Vistra people. We're not trying to represent government. We're not trying to represent agriculture. We're trying to present all of the information. And so come on out and be with us at the October 8th. And it was a pleasure to be with you today, Becky, and be able to explain more about the technology and about our event.
Dr. Hogan, thank you very, very much for all your good work and for putting this event together. It is sorely needed. It has been really disappointing to me that not even our county supervisors are willing to hold simple town hall meetings to provide forums for the public to ask questions and get information. So you and the California Art and Science Institute is doing truly a service, and to inspire the youth to get involved in the process is critical. So thank you very much for all you're doing.
Thank you.
All right.
Have a good day.
Thank you. You as well. Thank you for your call and all your work.
Okay. Bye.
Goodbye for now. So, listeners, thank you. Stay tuned for our second hour. We'll be continuing this conversation, and I invite you to call in at 831-265-5050. We'll take a little bit of a break here, and I'll be back in a few minutes where we'll be talking a little bit about other projects in the state of California that I have learned about, and quite alarming, and what you need to know that could happen here in Santa Cruz County and Monterey County as well, because we lack an ordinance regarding battery energy storage systems. Stay tuned for the second hour. And welcome back to Community Matters. I'm honored to be your host, Becky Steinbrunner, for one more hour here at the Santa Cruz Voice Studio. And to that end, I want to thank and really applaud the Satellite Workspace and Digital Media Studio for having such a great environment here where the Santa Cruz Voice Studio is, and also where community television is. You can be here too. If you need a clean, quiet, very secure place for your remote work, for occasional small meetings, or to get your mail if you don't want to have it at a post office box, you can do all of that here at the Satellite Workspace and Digital Media Center. It's located at 325 Soquel Avenue in Santa Cruz. That's between the Ocean Street area and the beautiful San Lorenzo River. So I cannot say enough good about this wonderful place, and please do come check it out. Olivia is at the desk most of the time, and we'll be happy to show you around on the second Wednesdays, I believe it is. You can come check it out for free. Satellite Workspace and Digital Media Center. Thank you very much for being here. I also want to take a moment here while I'm doing some public announcements. Last week I talked a little bit about my participation at the Felton Fire District board meeting that morning. And just to do a very brief recap, Felton Fire District is being given an ultimatum by the Santa Cruz County Local Agency Formation Group, LAFCO, that they have to do something to change their governance. And LAFCO has submitted a 247-page report to Felton Fire and has given them the deadline of October 6th to make a decision about what they're going to do. Now, I attend LAFCO meetings and I know that they cannot force anything, but they are giving that image of being able to do so to the Felton Fire Department board, that they must do something to change their governance model, improve their finances, and give better level of emergency response support to the community of Felton. So there is this Saturday, that's tomorrow night, August 16th, in Felton, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. of a rally. It's called the Felton Fire Revival, Firewise Community Rally and Pizza Night. It will be at the Felton Community Hall on Highway 9, right next to the Felton Fire District, not to be confused with CAL FIRE, which is just down the road a little bit. But this is an event that the Firewise community is putting together to bring the community together. And this is really important, to bring the community together to discuss what they want and need to have happen in their community for Felton Fire's future. And they're going to have some pizza there for the event. It is free, but I urge you, request that people go online and sign up if you're going to come so they have enough pizza. You can find that on a website here called Give Butter. That's all one word, .com/Felton Fire Revival. https://give butter, as in what you put on your toast, .com/Felton Fire Revival. Probably if you just look up Felton Fire Revival, it'll come up. But that's tomorrow night in Felton, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Felton Community Hall. Be there and get information and have your voice heard. It's important, very important. That being said, I would like to invite you to call in if you'd like. And my plan for this second hour, and again, I really want to thank Dr. Michael Hogan from the California Art and Science Institute calling in, talking with us about the event that he and his group are putting together for October 8th to provide us broad information, impartial information about the impacts of lithium battery energy storage systems, BESS, that we've been talking a lot about here because the local government is not, and it bothers me a lot, and this is a very important issue. I'd like to thank Dr. Hogan for calling in, and I'd also like to thank Mr. John Hassar from Invinity for calling in and explaining a little bit about that non-lithium battery technology that is available and should be discussed and can be put to use here. It's being put to use in other areas of California, so why not here? I would like you to call in and join the conversation. My plan is to continue with information that I have learned. I continue to research this issue because it is so important and is in our backyard, quite literally in our backyard. So call in and join the conversation. It's 831-265-5050, and I'll try to watch to see that I'm properly monitoring the equipment here. I'm not the best at that, but I'm going to do my best today. I always enjoy and appreciate people that I ask to participate as guest speakers here. And again, I want to thank Mr. Ed Mitchell for being my guest last week. He's the lead investigator from Never Again Moss Landing. And he has continued to send me information, and something I referenced in the last hour. We have heard recently the Vistra fire site is they're going to start cleaning it up. But I and Mr. Mitchell and many other people are very worried about that, actually, because we have not yet been told what is there, how it's going to be handled, and what are the risks, as it is decommissioned is the word, loaded up, put in a truck, and hauled down the road. What is in that, and what are the risks? What is the risk to those who follow a truck of this stuff? What is the risk to these workers who will be doing this at the Vistra plant? We have yet to be told, have an inventory, as Mr. Mitchell points out this morning in a Never Again Moss Landing pollution condition letter sent to a number of officials, primarily the EPA, primary on-scene coordinator, and other local entities. We have not yet seen an inventory of the hazards. We have not yet seen the concentration levels of any of the pollutants at, as Mr. Mitchell calls it, ground zero. And it is ground zero. And we are not assured that there has been adequate sampling. The EPA has jurisdiction to handle this event now, the cleanup, and the EPA is in charge of doing the sampling, but the EPA asked Vistra to do the sampling. So how are we, the public, to be given any confidence that the sampling has been adequate and components analyzed? You don't see it if you don't test for it. So what has been tested? What levels, what concentrations have been found, and how was the sampling done? None of that has been provided to the public. Mr. Mitchell's paper also very adeptly points out that local agencies need to know the hazardous profile to prepare to respond properly should a high wind blow residue dust across and outside of the perimeter fence. So what about people driving by? What about the farmers nearby? What about the people in the harbor? Mr. Mitchell's excellent paper goes on. In fact, the joint agreement with the Monterey County Board of Supervisors and the EPA, established on June 30th of this year in a letter, said that the EPA agrees that urgency, transparency are vital. However, Section 4 of the facts in the signed joint agreement was silent about the results of pollution sampling of the black fire residue stretching hundreds of feet along the fire site. In fact, the joint agreement was silent about any level of pollution of any hazardous material inside the perimeter fence. Thus, by not providing the list of hazardous material inside the perimeter and not providing the concentration level of those hazards, then it is not likely that the public and the media would label the EPA and Vistra as not transparent. So it requires proper air sampling for metals and asbestos, and requires us and assumes that there could be reignition while cleanup goes on. So, he points out, it appears that the respondent and the EPA have decided that never, during the demolition of the walls and the removal of the residue, would hazardous dust blow across the site and workers toward and outside of the perimeter fence. One example is wind blowing toward the Moss Landing Harbor. Many people still live in that area. There are businesses in that area. The EPA's June 30th, 2025 letter to the Monterey County Board of Supervisors and in subsequent communications, the EPA clarified that it has responsibility for inside the perimeter sampling and reporting. Meanwhile, the county has responsibility for sampling and reporting outside the perimeter. Since the EPA directed Vistra to gather the in-perimeter sampling data, you can direct the respondent to quickly provide the inside the perimeter sampling results, including of the residue, to the public, the EPA, the Department of Toxic Substances Control, and the County Environmental Health. Indeed. I am very much looking forward to my program next Friday, and I hope you will listen when 2nd District Monterey County Supervisor Mr. Glenn Church will be my guest. He will be on at 2:30 next Friday, and we will be talking about this level. By then, this issue, by then, the cleanup may have begun, but at what risk to the people and the wildlife and the farmland, as Dr. Hogan pointed out, will we have to worry about. Another person that I have interviewed in the past is Mr. Barry Brannon from Morro Bay, the city of Morro Bay, who that city and their residents there were able to pass a voter initiative to stop Vistra from installing a battery energy storage system in Nipomo at an abandoned PG&E site. And they have been very successful. The city of Morro Bay is enacted a moratorium on lithium-ion batteries, grid-scale batteries, and they've been very active. The county of San Luis Obispo has not. And the county of San Luis Obispo has not yet enacted a battery energy storage system BESS ordinance. Neither has Santa Cruz County. Now, the County Board of Supervisors began this work and adopted doing so in concept last fall. You can find those Board of Supervisor meetings. The one you really want to listen to is October 29th of 2024. And that's when it came before the board and they adopted doing this work and adopting an ordinance in concept. And it was supposed to come back for a final vote and review in April of this year. It got postponed because what happened between October and April, it was the Vistra fire. And I guess if there can be a silver lining on anything to that horrible disaster that happened in Moss Landing and continues to plague our area and those people, is that it woke a lot of people up and started asking, people started asking questions. And so the County of Santa Cruz is supposedly waiting to hear the results of the investigation of the Moss Landing fire, what caused it, that they feel will help inform them in writing this county's battery energy storage system ordinance that would rezone 3 areas of land for these kinds of projects to allow them. The first one is at 90 Minto Road in Watsonville, and that one is already in permit process. New Leaf Energy lost no time. As soon as the board, they've been working on this quietly behind the scenes for about 1.5 years, maybe 2 years. And as soon as the supervisor, then Supervisor McPherson, and Carlos Palacios, who serve on Central Coast Community Energy 3CE that depends on this type of battery energy storage for their marketing model. As soon as that got approved, then they were off. New Leaf Energy was off and running to the planning department with their application for the Seahawk energy storage facility at 90 Minto Road in Watsonville. So that's one. The second one is on Freedom Boulevard, very, very close to Aptos High. And the third is on Houts, Houts Drive near Paul Sweet Road, directly behind the parking lot of Dominican Hospital. Now tell me how that can be a good place. With lithium technology, in my opinion, there is no good place. But those 3 sites were identified, and the County Board of Supervisors wants to rezone those areas to be able to accommodate grid scale battery energy storage system facilities. Now, what I learned from Mr. Barry Brannon down in Morro Bay, I was hoping he could come on and give us a bit of an update about what's happening there, but he couldn't. He's on vacation, bless his heart. But he told me about a project in San Luis Obispo County in the community of Nipomo that really got me worried. And here is what he said. He said the project's called the Caballero project. It's about the same size as what the Seahawk project in Watsonville is. Got approved by the Planning Commission and the Fire Department because San Luis Obispo County has no laws and no ordinance to stop it or to regulate it. So it's kind of a rehash of what happened with the facility that burned at Moss Landing. It was approved by the Planning Commission. And I'm sure that the fire department had something to do with it too. But that was before the worst of the worst possible case happened, the fire on January 16th of this year. But what happened, according to Mr. Brannon in Nipomo, is that it just went quietly through. And no one knew that it was happening. And it happened like that because there was no ordinance. And that is my fear here, my concern here in Santa Cruz County, that the longer our County Board of Supervisors postpones adopting some type of ordinance that will be protective of our public safety and health, the environment, the agricultural lands, the water, the wildlife, it is a possibility that New Leaf could just go to the Planning Commission and go to the fire department, they already have, and get the approvals that they want. Why don't you call in and let's talk about this? What do you think? 831-265-5050. You can look up the Nipomo project. It was purchased by an asset management and an investor in November of 2024, and they pushed it through. I wondered what counties do have a battery energy storage system ordinance in place. And you know what? It turns out none of them. No county does yet. They're all working on it. Thanks to AI, which gobbles up tons of energy. But Orange County has enacted an emergency moratorium on new battery energy storage systems as of February 4th, 2025, in the wake of the fire at a facility in Monterey County. Well, this is a temporary ban. It is aimed at allowing county officials to develop and finalize new specific regulations regarding battery energy storage systems. It is not a finalized ordinance itself, but a step toward creating one. Solano County also implemented a 2-year pause on new approvals to develop safety-focused land use standards and hosted a public workshop to gather input for a zoning ordinance in July of 2024. And that is what this county is planning to do, a new zoning ordinance, because the land on Minto Road is an apple orchard. It is agricultural land, and this county has an edict passed by the voters not to take agricultural land out of production. But this project has wangled its way. This New Leaf Energy staff have been working with county planning staff and hiring a local, very large consultant, dept, to craft things. And they're dept has determined that the apple orchard is not productive agricultural land. I don't see how they can make that determination, but that is their determination, and that is what most likely, unless the people wake up and start demanding something different, most likely our county planning staff will say, okay. And we know that when it gets to the County Board of Supervisors, the supervisors listen to the staff and say, okay, for the most part. So we have really got to start doing our homework, and I encourage you to go online to a website of a grassroots group called Stop Lithium BESS in Santa Cruz County, and find out what they're doing. They are planning another public information workshop at the Simpkins Swim Center. I believe it's going to be August 25th or 26th, coming right up. And it will be a place where you can get impartial information and a wealth of good information and contacts with people in your neighborhood, and we have to join together as neighborhoods because community matters. So that is going to be the last week of August, and I urge you to go to this coming Wednesday's Santa Cruz County Commission on the Environment. That's going to be the third of the 3 workshops, and they are attempting to provide for the public information that we can use, we can consider, but I will say it is not balanced. It is not balanced. And that is not my opinion only. Many are saying it is not balanced. They are an arm of the county, and I'm sad to say they are also in link with Central Coast Community Energy, who in fact was one of their presenters last time, and is married to the idea of lithium battery energy storage in our county. So I'd like you to look up, think about that, going back to the Nipomo project and how that got approved quietly by the Planning Commission and the Fire Department because there was no ordinance to stop it. Now, the other thing that has happened is there's another large project called the Compass project that is in the community of the city of San Juan Capistrano, further south. And what that battery developer did was they went to the California Energy Commission, CEC, which, thanks to a piece of legislation, AB 205, allows these battery energy storage developers to do and completely do a workaround local jurisdictions and things that they, if they have one, any regulations. But as I said, no counties or cities do. So we've got to get on the stick. And we've really got to also be leaning on our fire officials. They are, in my opinion, not taking the lead in this as strongly as they must and can do. And that was emphasized over and over at the State Fire Marshal's Battery Energy Storage Fire Safety Symposium in Sacramento last month. They implored the fire agents to be early on involved and demanding things. And while there are updated fire codes at the state level working their way along, they are not yet approved and will not be approved until next year. But that doesn't mean that local jurisdictions cannot make more, as Ed Mitchell used the term additive. I had used the word restrictive, but I like his term better. Additive, more protective of the people's health and safety and environment. And that is why we need to support Assemblymember Don Addis's bill, AB 303, because as Mr. Hassar referred to earlier, it really gives communities the ability to have setbacks, real setbacks from what are called sensitive receptors, residential areas, schools, hospitals, things like that, because there's nothing right now. AB 303, write your assembly member, senator to support AB 303. So going back to this big project that the California Energy Commission is now in charge of approving or considering approving for the city of San Juan Capistrano, they have the ability to, once the CEC, if an applicant takes their project to them and lays it on their lap, the CEC has the authority to determine whether the application is complete. And once they determine it is complete, then they have 270 days to determine whether or not it will be approved. So what happened in the city of San Juan Capistrano is they held a public hearing. And I read through the transcript of that public hearing, and it was quite amazing. The CEC, the California Energy Commission, has to begin doing environmental review. So they held what's called a scoping meeting for what they should consider in terms of environmental assessment and alternatives analysis for this project, the Compass energy storage application submitted to them for approval. It's called the opt-in certification process. Interestingly enough, the city of Laguna Niguel has come out in full opposition of this project. And if you look up their letter of opposition, it's very good and very well reasoned in terms of their concerns of fire risk and it being next to a major highway and railroad corridors that would be very severely impacted if there were a fire. It talks about the nearness of the residential area. It talks about the history of the wildland fire and the fire risk already in this area. So we've heard a lot about what happens if the applicant goes to the CEC and does a workaround. The city of Laguna Niguel has an excellent website on this and frequently asked questions. How did we get to this point? So what happened with this project was in December of 2021, Compass Energy Storage submitted an entitlement application for the project to the city of San Juan Capistrano to initiate the permit process. The existing land use regulations for the proposed project site were not compatible with the development of the BESS. So they hadn't rezoned it, and they were not going to rezone it to accommodate this use. They would have to prepare and approve a rezone study to establish a community development plan to allow the proposed BESS facility to be developed. On November 1st of 2022, the San Juan Capistrano City Council denied the initiation of a rezone study to create the proposed community development plan. Early the next year, Compass Energy Storage informed the city of San Juan Capistrano of its intention to forego the city review process and to pursue state approval via the California Energy Commission, as is allowed under State Law AB 205. In February of 2024, Compass Energy Storage formally withdrew its application from the city of San Juan Capistrano. And a couple of months later, the CEC notified the city of San Juan Capistrano of its receipt of the opt-in application for the Compass Energy Storage project. The state of California's opt-in certification program is a streamlined application process in which the Commission reviews the project proposal and can require permitting of the proposed BESS facility, bypassing local land use requirements. So that is what has happened. And where all of this is in San Juan Capistrano, the residents there are very, very active. They have submitted over 1,000 comments on the environmental scoping process. The final, and this, since the CEC determined that the application was complete, on April 30th of this year, they then began their environmental review process. They have 270 days to do that and to make a determination of the project. So they are saying that the draft environmental impact report will be target date September 27th of this year, and then they must provide 30 to 60 days for public comment, and they must hold a public meeting in the community where the project is designated to go. And then the final EIR that will respond to all of those public comments submitted will come out December 26th of this year, and the deadline for the California Energy Commission to approve or consider approval will be January 25th of next year. So that's the timeline. And we keep hearing about this opt-in certification process, but this was the first time I've really seen a timeline and information about what it involves, if that's an option that an applicant, like if New Leaf were to take it, what would happen? What would we see then? And here's the question, can it be approved even though the city of San Juan Capistrano adopted an ordinance that was not going to do the rezoning? And the answer is yes. If a project is approved, the California Energy Commission's opt-in certificate is in lieu of any local permit or ordinance. However, to grant a certificate to a project, the California Energy Commission must first make findings that the project will comply with all applicable laws, ordinances, regulations, and standards, or, and this is in bold type, or make findings that, despite the non-conformance, the project is required for public convenience and necessity. Let me say that again. They can make the finding that it is, even though it does not comply with the laws of the local jurisdictions, the project is required for public convenience and necessity. And in other issues, things I've read, they make those findings by saying it is a disadvantaged community and they must have reliable power. Think about that on Minto Road in Watsonville. Now, if you have some thoughts about this, please call in. 831-265-5050. I'm going to let that whole topic rest, and we've got about 15 minutes yet here, because there was something else that has happened. Related, actually, I did attend Central Coast Community Energy's Operations Board meeting on Wednesday. It is all of their other board meetings and Community Advisory Commission meetings had been canceled, but the Operations Board stayed intact, their meeting. And the reason why I think it was because they wanted to approve financial support of this huge project in Fresno County called the Darden Energy. 9,500 acres of agricultural land will be covered in solar panels, and there will also be a large lithium battery storage facility there. There is no ordinance there to regulate that in Fresno County, and there has been no rezoning. And one of the speakers at this wonderful symposium that I went to in Sacramento was the fire chief from that area, and he said the California Energy Commission came to him and asked him what he wanted, what he needed. So he did a lot of work, and I'm hoping that the Fresno County Fire Department which is run by CAL FIRE, will be one of my guests in the near future to talk with us about what they came up with, because they saw that it was going to happen and they needed to get ahead of it. And so even though the state fire codes are not yet clear on a lot of the testing and requirements, Chief Hale, Dustin Hale, did a lot of work, and he developed something that he thought was going to be workable and that would help his community. So I'm hoping that a public information officer from the Fresno County Fire Department will be my guest here in a couple of weeks. And as I said earlier, next week we can look forward to having Monterey County Supervisor Glenn Church here as our guest to talk with us about the Moss Landing cleanup and what's happening in Monterey County. So I did attend the Operations Board meeting. I usually attend them in the basement of the county building, but I decided to go to the city of Watsonville and was somewhat of a surprised look when I was led to the city manager's office and learned that New Leaf has already been courting the city of Watsonville city manager, even though this project is not within the jurisdiction of Watsonville City. It's in unincorporated county area. The Watsonville City Fire Department would be required to respond at a fire that would happen at this New Leaf Seahawk Energy facility on the banks of College Lake, across the way from the Santa Cruz County Fairgrounds. So that was a very interesting meeting, and I implored the Operations Board to at least make a statement about their preference for non-lithium BESS. Only the representative from Monterey County was somewhat responsive to that, and she asked to see the emergency response plan and risk assessment for the project. This is the Darden, huge Darden project. And Mr. Rob Shaw, the CEO from 3CE, agreed to get that and make it available to the Operations Board and hopefully the public. They were somewhat vexed that the members of the public were there in their way. And the only other than that issue, the only other responsive member of the board was the representative from Santa Barbara County. 3CE goes all the way down to Santa Barbara County. And he wanted to know, in response to my question about spacing and plume models, he wanted to know about spacing between things, and basically he was brushed off too. It was quite enlightening. So I urge you to, whenever there is an opportunity, go to those 3CE meetings. Go to certainly next Wednesday's Commission on the Environment meeting and ask questions and demand some answers. Be respectful, but be firm. All right, we've got about 10 minutes here, and I want to say that a very sad thing happened yesterday with all the trees in the city of Santa Cruz being cut down on the lot where the farmers market has been for many, many years. And I want to thank the people who fought so hard to try to convince the city to save them, to incorporate them into the design of the new library there, the affordable housing that will be there, the parking garage, the child care center, keep the trees and incorporate them into the design. The city, as they say, had no appetite for doing that. And so the trees were all cut yesterday, and It's a very sad moment, and I just want to really acknowledge the hard work that so many people did to try to make it otherwise. It would have been a much better design had the all-glass new library design. If you want to see what that looks like, there's a big poster of it in the downtown library in Santa Cruz. If the all-glass library could have looked out into trees and had the benefit of shade and not so much glare, and to have connected with the birds and environment around, but that was a problem for the city, and they chose to instead just cut the trees down. Speaking of trees, there was an excellent appeal at Tuesday night, Santa Cruz City. That was the August 12th City Council meeting. This is regarding the WorkBench Clocktower development. That's been in the news for a while. And I really want to thank Jillian Greensight for appealing the tree removal, 2 large redwood trees at that clock tower site, trying to save them. She did a fabulous job presenting all the reasons why the city council could reverse its planning commission decision to allow the trees, large redwood trees, to be cut down. And you can see this, watch this proceeding that happened if you go to Community Television's Government on Demand. Just Google Government on Demand, CTV for Community Television, and you'll see all the different government meetings, recordings of them that are there. Look at the August 12th Santa Cruz City Council meeting. And at about hour 2, that's when the deliberation of this issue came forth. I was participating remotely. There were a number of people there. And again, I want to commend Jillian Greensight for her excellent presentation that unfortunately fell on deaf ears with the council. It was a strange, very strange meeting, hearing. There were 2 appeals. There was the Save Our Big Trees by Jillian Greensight, and then the WorkBench developer themselves also filed an appeal to be able to make bigger balconies that encroach over the sidewalk into the public spaces from these apartments. And both appeals were heard concurrently. It was very interesting to see, from my point of view, a Santa Cruz County planner, Mr. David Carlson, stand up and say, I don't understand what's going on here. You're not following the law. And that is basically what he said. With regard to the WorkBench developer wanting bigger decks, and why they were claiming that if they didn't cut down the trees, they would have to go to building a taller building to compensate for the loss of what they call amenities space. Amenities space. And the city developer, city manager, Mr. Butler, just defended WorkBench's need and cited a court case, and it was just very interesting that on 3 sides of the building, the WorkBench said they had to have wider decks, bigger decks, to accommodate people in wheelchairs. On the Knight Street side, that's Knight as in Knight, they were not asking for that. The decks could be smaller there. My sense is that's probably where the affordable units will be. There will be some affordable units. But the Mr. Carlson kept pointing out, look, they're going to build habitable space, change this amenity space into habitable space. And they're saying that right there. But that's going against the legal decision that the city and the Superior Court of Santa Cruz made regarding the food bin project, saying you can't do that. You can't do that. Why are you letting them do this now? And of course, they ignored him. Well, that was kind of interesting to see. But the most shocking thing that happened was that when it was all said and done, and I urge you to watch this 2-hour proceeding and the machinations that one of the council members, Susie O'Hare, did at the very end. She made a very gallant, emotional, this was so hard. And then she whipped out this written document that said, and here's what she said: I'm going to deny both appeals. I'm going to deny the tree appeal. I'm going to deny the balcony request, but I'm going to amend the condition of approval of the permit for WorkBench so that they are allowed to increase their deck space. And here is her word: we found another pathway to give you what you want. I urge you to listen to that. And she used some other very bizarre terms. She used the word brown acting. I brown acted with one of my colleagues. I've never heard brown act made into a verb before. And she used the term, in the consensus meeting, we had a discussion. What is a consensus meeting? And is that where this pre-written agreement to change the permit conditions, which they had said they couldn't do earlier, but instead they did it to allow WorkBench to get, as she said, a pathway to what you want? It was very, very bizarre and pretty sickening. And I really want to urge you all to listen to that and to question the Santa Cruz City Council, especially Council Member Susie O'Hare. Council Member Trujillo asked a very good question. She said, well, if amenity space cannot be reduced, which is according to this court case by Mr. Butler, the city manager, then let's deed restrict the amenity space so that it stays amenity space. Now there's a good idea, huh? No, that did not fly with Mr. Butler, and that did not fly with Mr. Condotti, the city attorney. And so that did not happen. And as we see, WorkBench got everything they wanted, but the trees lost. So do not give up, people. We cannot give up. Here's one thing you can do, and I hope you will do, that will catch the eye of Central Coast Community Energy. This is going back to the battery energy thing. Opt out of being their customer today. Do it right away. 94% of the electricity customers in Santa Cruz County are customers of 3CE, because if you didn't opt out right when they started, you were a customer. Here, you can call 877-455-2223. And you can go online. You have to have your your statement ready for your number, but opt out and tell them why, because they are supporting actively and silently. That's the issue, silently supporting very dangerous lithium battery energy storage systems in our community and in communities all around the state. And it has to stop. Because if we've heard today, there are alternatives. And the only way they'll listen to us is if we opt out and cause them some financial grief. Your power bill will maybe even go down. So that's it. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week. Thanks for listening.
Hey, Becky, how's it going?
Oh.